While Peter is trying to adjust to his new cosmic powers, he takes a night off to join his wife, Mary Jane, on a dinner date with Flash and his new date, Amber. However, Flash's date is rude and complains throughout the entire meal, ruining the Parkers' enjoyment of their dinner. Then, when Flash suggests they all see a movie together, MJ declines with the excuse that she has an early shoot the next morning. In support of his wife, Peter joins MJ for the secret hospital shoot, feeling fascinated and lucky in his marriage. However, Peter's spider sense goes off and he must leave to deal with an out-of-control Hulk. With his new cosmic powers, Peter sends the monstrous giant into orbit with a single punch. He returns to MJ, saying he almost killed the Hulk and he hates his new powers, wishing they would just go away. Days later, as MJ hangs their wedding photos on the walls at their loft in Soho, Peter returns home. MJ comments that her darling husband has been like a stranger lately, as he's been so busy as Spider-Man. When Peter complains that the public was acting like he was a menace during his last battle, MJ confirms it did look that way on the news, and his new powers can appear overwhelming, even at a distance. Hearing this, Peter gets defensive and yells that his own wife has sided against him. MJ tries to explain that she never meant that, but Peter cuts her off and leaves, and MJ questions what is happening to her husband. As he swings off, Peter asks himself the same question, regretting that he chewed out the woman he loves over nothing. Still feeling overwhelmed and fed up with his new powers, Peter returns home. He finds a note from Mary Jane, reminding him that they are meeting with her cousin Christy for supper. However, Peter gets occupied fighting Dragon Man. Meanwhile, MJ bonds with Christy over her troubled family issues, learning how it had caused Christy's eating disorder. Looking at the time, Mary Jane realizes that Peter is running late and hopes that he is okay. Days later, Peter helps his wife learn her lines for an episode of Secret Hospital. But Peter has trouble focusing and MJ suggests he go web-slinging to clear his head. Watching her husband go, she thinks they have come a long way in their marriage, as she no longer fears what may happen when he goes out as Spider-Man. Later, after a battle with the Tri-Sentinel, Peter loses his cosmic powers and wishes he had done more, but MJ assures Peter that he did whatever he could do and he shouldn't beat himself up over it. They abruptly end their conversation when the elevator dings. It's Flash Thompson, and he has come to introduce Peter and Mary Jane to yet another new girlfriend, and the Parkers are shocked to see that it's Felicia Hardy. A couple days later, Peter returns home while Mary Jane is at work on a shoot for Secret Hospital. The table is still full of dishes from the dinner from a couple nights ago when Felicia showed up, clearly jealous that Peter married MJ and using Flash to get her revenge. Peter recalls his reaction of shock and how MJ covered for him, telling Flash that Peter was simply surprised to see her, as they have met Felicia before. Then, as they all ate dinner together, Felicia messed with Peter, rubbing his leg under the table while dropping ominous warnings. While Peter hasn't had a chance to talk to MJ about it, he has a feeling the situation with Felicia is going to get worse before it gets any better. In the coming days, the Parkers celebrate, as Joe Robertson has been pardoned from his conviction of accessory to murder. Peter says Robertson must be the second happiest guy on Earth, and when MJ asks who's the first, Peter says, "You're hugging his arm. With you at my side, life is just about perfect." But Peter's spider sense interrupts the moment. Later, as MJ arrives at the Robertson home celebration, she notices Peter is running late. She watches as Puma arrives, causing trouble for Jonah, until disaster breaks loose when Hobgoblin shows up to kill Robertson. MJ quickly hides in a bush with Puma and then convinces him to help defend Robbie. This stalls the attack long enough for Peter to arrive. MJ then tells Peter what happened, and in response, he immediately goes into battle with the Hobgoblin and saves the day. Days later, Christy visits MJ and they look at her modeling photos together, laughing at some of the outrageous outfits. Suddenly, Liz shows up worried about her brother, the Molten Man, who is out of jail and is asking for money. Peter soon arrives as MJ comforts Liz, and after they tell Peter what's going on, he makes a worried glance to his wife, as they both wonder what may happen next once the Molten Man shows up again. After quickly making a plan, MJ leaves with Liz and Christy, while Peter stays behind to confront the Molten Man. After a brief fight, Peter returns to MJ and the others, and Molten Man's intentions are revealed. He was not trying to take money, but only looking for a loan. The Parkers watch as Harry offers him a job, to which he gladly agrees. Then they all plan a dinner together to celebrate Harry's treat. Soon, trouble hits the Parker home when Felicia breaks in and grabs MJ by the throat. While MJ struggles, she tells Felicia to go back to the alley where she belongs. Felicia throws MJ on the sofa, admitting that she made a mistake breaking up with Spider and that he will soon realize the mistake he made of marrying MJ. Felicia then reveals that she plans to break Flash's heart like Spider broke hers, and after getting her revenge, only then will she forgive Peter and be with him. After Felicia warns MJ not to stand in the way, She departs by jumping out the window. Then, as MJ stresses over what just happened, Peter suddenly drops in, startling her. Giving her husband a distressed look, Mary Jane states that they need to talk. Later, as MJ eats lunch with her coworkers, a disgruntled secret hospital fan slaps her, angry about what her character, Sybil, did in the show. However, as the woman leaves, she is shockingly hit by a car and killed. Shortly after, outside the Parkers' home, NYPD Officer Goldman approaches MJ to warn her that Jonathan Ceasar was set free from jail that afternoon. Upon returning home, Peter finds a note on the TV to meet MJ in Paris for dinner. He then discovers that MJ has set up the studio with a backdrop picture of the city in order to share a romantic dinner with him. Peter affectionately tells his wife that a New Jersey landfill would be romantic if she were there. The conversation then turns to Felicia and Ceasar, who are both ironically obsessed with the Parkers, but unable to have them. Unfortunately, the leftover hot dogs don't go down well compared to the romantic setting. Later, when MJ hears that Sticks and Stone are after Spider-Man on Ceasar's order, she attempts to protect her husband by going to Ceasar to remind him that she was the one who escaped him and that Spider-Man was not responsible for ruining his plans. But Ceasar says Spider-Man still interfered and must pay. Then Ceasar threateningly reveals that he has a future script of Secret Hospital that he could leak. After MJ comments those scripts are guarded better than Fort Knox, she realizes she has gotten in over her head in confronting Ceasar and leaves. Meanwhile, Peter enjoys an episode of Secret Hospital at home while appreciating his wife. He thinks to himself, lots of grad students watch soaps, but how many get to smooch with one of the stars after class? In the coming days, Peter excitedly surprises MJ with tickets to Aruba. Unfortunately, MJ must explain that she is in the middle of filming Secret Hospital episodes and that her coworkers are all depending on her. Plus, they don't have the money right now for a vacation. When Peter asks what she means, MJ admits that her savings were wiped out after she signed a no-contest agreement for the Ceasar lawsuit, explaining that she could not stand the idea of months in battle with Jonathan Ceasar leering at her in the courtroom. Sympathizing with his wife and holding her lovingly, Peter agrees to get a refund for the tickets and assures her that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Ceasar, still obsessed with Mary Jane and wanting his revenge on the wall crawler, sends Sticks and Stone after Spider-Man. However, Peter manages to defeat the villains, and they are arrested after the battle. In his next adventure, Peter gets shrunk by Ant-Man's gas. He visits Mary Jane, who can't believe her eyes, as Peter is the size of an action figure. MJ takes Pete to Harry to see if he can help, but Harry inadvertently sends Peter into the microverse. After that ordeal is over with, Peter returns back home. As MJ measures Peter to ensure he's back up to size, Peter turns on the charm kissing his wife, and they get in bed for some intimate fun together. Some time later, Peter gets a photo assignment to take pictures of Spider-Man for the Bugle's public service announcement. To pull it off, MJ takes pictures of Peter while he poses in costume. While Peter feels ridiculous posing next to a bunch of mannequins, MJ encourages her husband, saying he looks cute. She then takes his mind off of his embarrassment with some playful romance and kissing. Unfortunately, Katzenberg is spying on the Parkers from the skylight, taking photos to expose Peter for fraud. Suddenly, the moment is interrupted with a distressed call from Betty Brandt, and Peter must leave to help. Later, while on campus, Peter is surprised by Mary Jane. She finished her scenes from Secret Hospital early and has Peter join her for a picnic dinner. When they finish, Peter feels guilty over his last ordeal with Carrion, as he has kept his true identity from his mother. He figures out what he must do while talking to MJ, and she encourages Peter with a kiss, saying she loves him and, sooner or later, he always does the right thing. But as Peter leaves, MJ wishes Peter wasn't so hard on himself, and then realizes that he didn't even have a chance to sample her dessert. Upon returning home, MJ watches the news as things look dire for her husband in a fight with Carrion and Hobgoblin that she feels partly responsible for by encouraging him in their talk at their picnic. Turning off the TV, she says she's not going to stay home worrying over the news and then leaves to find help in order to save Peter. Outside, Katzenberg finds her and threatens to leak the photos he took of the Parkers earlier. Believing all of Peter's photos of Spider-Man to be fraudulent, Katzenberg attempts to blackmail MJ, suggesting that he could cut a deal with Peter, or maybe with MJ upstairs. Hearing this and angered by his insinuations, MJ turns around and punches Katzenberg's lights out. After this, she storms off and tracks down Puma at a nearby restaurant, where she threatens to reveal his identity if he does not speak with her privately. After he agrees to talk, MJ demands that Puma help Peter, as he was in debt to her husband and owes him. Despite this, Puma refuses to help, making MJ realize that Puma just wants Peter dead. She then storms off, calling him a hypocrite. Finally, when Mary Jane turns to Carrion's mother, Martha, to get her to help her son, they hear an explosion outside and run out to see what happened. There, Carrion attacks MJ, but Peter swings her and Martha to safety. Meanwhile, Hobgoblin and Carrion are caught in an explosion and presumed dead, and Peter realizes that Carrion sacrificed himself to save his mother's life. When the Parkers finally have a day off together, Peter wakes MJ with a passionate kiss, and they are about to enjoy the morning. Unfortunately, a phone call interrupts, and Peter gets summoned to work unexpectedly. Cuddling up to her husband, MJ asks how long it will take, and Peter replies that it will only be a couple of hours. Smiling, MJ says that half a day is better than none, and promises to make Peter something special for lunch. Unfortunately, the beetle stops Peter's return until nighttime. He finally returns home late while apologizing, only to find that MJ is already fast asleep. He then slouches on the bed dejectedly, lost in thought, but MJ wakes, grabs Peter by the ear, and pulls him into bed with her to make the evening count. In Spider-Man Spirits of the Earth, the Parkers travel to Mary Jane's ancestral home in Scotland for a second honeymoon together. They check into a quaint inn and meet the innkeeper, who knows of one of MJ's relatives, Mary McLeod. The following day, they visit McLeod's home. Looking through her things, MJ finds a picture of herself during her christening as a child. Peter comments that he misses the rumble of the city, and MJ replies that they'll make rumbles of their own once she changes into something more suitable. Later, they go down to the pub, and Mary Jane's arrival catches the attention of the men playing pool, one who finds her attractive, though she quickly points out that she is married and introduces Peter. While MJ plays pool, Peter listens to a local complain about ghosts until his wife returns, gloating that she won the game. Upon seeing Peter looking worried, she gives him kisses to cheer him up, and when she overhears about the ghosts, she laughs it off, while wondering if they mean like in Ghostbusters. However, one of the locals does not appreciate the sarcasm and insists that the hauntings are true. Later, as Mary Jane goes to bed, Peter heads out as Spider-Man to investigate the stories. MJ wakes up as soon as he leaves, wishing her husband good luck and not to let the ghosties get him, because she loves him. After Peter's adventure, he returns to bed, and seeing that her husband had a rough night, MJ heads downstairs to get tea for him. There, a man makes advances on her, but she is saved when that man's uncle interrupts. He then invites MJ to a meeting with the townsfolk discussing the sale of their land, and she returns upstairs to inform Peter about it, as well as an old woman named Mary who may know about the ghosts. The next day, while Peter searches for Mary, Mary Jane attends a meeting. However, the sudden appearance of ghosts cause the townsfolk to think MJ's husband is a demon, and they turn into an angry mob and try to attack him. But Mary soon arrives and gets the mob under control, and then in private, gets Peter to help her. After saying goodbye to his wife and leaving her to Mary's care, he heads for the castle. Meanwhile, the Elder asks MJ to help contribute her energy, as she is going to try to cast a spell to assist Peter. At the castle, Peter encounters the Hellfire Club, who are the true reason for the illusions of ghosts and hauntings, while MJ and Mary build enough energy together to cause a small earthquake, which contributes to helping Spider-Man in his battle. When finished, Peter escapes back to his wife, but his last task is to save a young boy from one of the evil men who has him hostage. MJ and Mary again hold hands and gather energy from the earth to help Spider-Man save the day. Days later, before they head back to New York, Peter and MJ visit the boy they rescued, who is to one day be a great lord who will restore the village to glory. On the flight back, Peter remarks that he will not forget the people there, as MJ snuggles up by his side. Days later on the set of Secret Hospital, MJ botches one of her lines about her coworker's nose job, and the director Hal goes nuts, asking why he's saddled with amateurs. While MJ works to manage her emotions, Hal calls a break and storms off, but he gets injured when a light fixture falls on him after a cord is mysteriously cut. Later that day on a visit to Aunt May's, Peter makes sure that MJ is feeling okay to visit for dinner. She assures Peter, even though the incident at work was upsetting, she'll feel better being with people than at home moping. When they arrive, Aunt May greets them excitedly, but Nathan Lubensky goes out suspiciously, and Peter agrees to keep an eye on him for May. While out, Nathan covertly withdraws money from the bank and gets entangled with a group of thugs, resulting in Peter having to change into Spider-Man to save him. Peter returns home after watching Nathan and reports to May that he was never spotted. MJ hugs her husband, saying what a guy, primo hubby and number one nephew, but Peter wonders to himself, what kind of trouble did Nathan get himself into? Later, MJ gets a visit from Officer Goldman regarding the work accident, and he suspects Jonathan Ceasar may have been behind it. But MJ doesn't understand why Ceasar would bother going after the director, as he is only fixated on her. Then, when Peter arrives, Goldman quickly leaves. After this, MJ accidentally slips up and makes an insensitive remark about Iron Man upstaging Peter at a recent event. The moment is interrupted with a phone call regarding Nathan, which causes Peter to feel dejected. Seeing this, MJ tries to cheer up Peter and bandage his bruised ego by tagging along with him on his photo assignment. But a surprise awaits when the Parkers unexpectedly meet Flash and Felicia on the street. Upon seeing Peter, Felicia starts flirting with Flash, trying to make him jealous. However, the Parkers can't stick around, and as they leave, Peter admits that he doesn't know how to tell Flash about Felicia without revealing his secret, and MJ wonders if it bothers Peter that Felicia is coming on to his best friend. When the Parkers arrive at their destination, Peter offers MJ a chance to meet Captain America, which gets her excited, but the Shocker suddenly appears and screws up that opportunity. MJ watches as her husband has a showdown with the villain, and after taking Shocker down, Peter finally gets praised publicly. Happy to see this, MJ looks on, proud of her husband, and wants Peter to soak up the praise, as he deserves it. Later, when Peter heads to his next photo assignment, Mary Jane kisses him goodbye, and he thinks of how lucky he is to have such a beautiful and famous wife, despite his life falling apart regularly. But Peter's assignment turns into disaster when Nathan tragically dies at the hands of the Vulture. A few days later, the Parkers attend Nathan's funeral, and Peter suggests his Aunt May come home with them after the service. But Aunt May declines, explaining that while it's a kind offer, she needs to get used to living alone. Hearing this, Peter worries for May, but MJ says that all they can do is be supportive and let her know that they love her. Shortly after, on the way home, MJ tries to discuss the plans for the day, but Peter is troubled and is not listening. MJ notices and jokes about serving a dead rat for dinner to try to get his attention, but when it goes over Peter's head, she confronts him about it and explains that she needs input from her husband. But Peter snaps at his wife, saying that he doesn't care what he eats and for her to leave him alone. Meanwhile, as Peter heads upstairs on his own, a mysterious figure watches and makes notes that MJ's husband may be abusive. As MJ heads up the stairs after Peter, she thinks that marriage is give and take, and she'll be the one to give this time and apologize. But when she arrives, Peter is waiting at the door and immediately apologizes for his poor attitude. After they hug making up, Peter must leave for his classes, and as he leaves, MJ smiles and jokes that she'll keep the dead rat warm for him. Meanwhile, Flash defends Felicia in a fight, and she starts to catch feelings for him. Also, Jonathan Ceasar is back to his schemes, and things look even more dire for MJ this time. Later, when Peter returns home, he narrowly avoids being hit by a chunk of concrete from the roof with his superhuman reflexes, and he scales the building to discover that it does not look like an accident. Peter tells Mary Jane about the incident at home, saying it looked like someone was trying to get him killed. MJ suspects it may be Jonathan Ceasar, and maybe they should call Officer Goldman. Soon after, MJ is starting to feel paranoid about Ceasar, and she tells Peter that she needs to go to rehearsals, but she has other plans that she is ashamed to tell Peter about. In secret, MJ goes to a local gun shop to purchase a handgun for self-defense, in case Ceasar should threaten her again. Some time later, Spider-Man swings home to his stunningly dressed wife, and MJ informs him that her director Hal is out of the hospital and wants to meet on set. But a phone call interrupts, and Peter must go to investigate a problem on campus. The Parkers agree to share a cab ride together, as well as the sun, the moon, and the stars, in a moment of romantic passion. Shortly after, when MJ arrives on set, she is shocked to find Ceasar waiting for her, who announces he has killed her director. He says that he has a Learjet waiting that will take them to an island paradise, but MJ tells Ceasar to stick his Learjet where it won't get sunburned. After Ceasar threateningly pulls out a knife, the two hear a voice, and MJ turns to find Officer Goldman holding a gun, who shoots and kills Ceasar in front of her. Then, Goldman reveals he's actually an obsessed fan of hers, who would do anything to protect her, and is behind killing and hurting everyone who did anything unkind to MJ, her director, the woman at the deli, Ceasar, and even Peter, her so-called abusive husband. But when MJ threatens Goldman claiming she has a gun and will call the police, he turns his gun on her. Thinking fast, Mary Jane says that when she's dead, they'll change the script to Secret Hospital and coerces Goldman closer, promising to reveal upcoming secrets about her soap opera. Suddenly, MJ uses her hairspray to blind Goldman, and then uses her purse to take him down quickly and fiercely with all her strength. Then, reflecting on all that has happened, MJ starts to question if she really wants to be an actress. Later that evening, Peter returns home after dealing with the Sinister Six. Upon seeing each other, the Parkers simultaneously exclaim, "You won't believe the day I had." Then they hug each other passionately, with the full moon shining brightly through the window. One evening at home, Peter sits next to Mary Jane, baffled. She listens to Peter as he goes on about how he's taken on the toughest villains, and he asks, what makes average thugs think they stand a chance against him? MJ replies Peter is cute when he gets philosophical. Then she jokes that Peter seems a bit full of himself, but that's because he's never been attacked by her. Then, she uses her playful tickles to bring Peter to submission, as he laughs saying, hey, that's not fair. Later, MJ asks Peter if he wants breakfast, but he only grabs coffee, informing his wife that he has lab work at the university as he suits up, planning to be home by dinner. The next day, MJ tries to get Peter to go shopping, but he is distracted by the paper. She gives Peter tickles and piggyback rides to try to get his attention, but those don't do the trick either, as Peter senses the lizard is behind the latest deaths in the news. When a determined Peter begins to suit up, MJ asks what's wrong, but seeing her husband, she knows he can get obsessed, and she stops in her tracks. MJ knows that there is nothing she can say. She also knows that her husband is a hero. Later, as the nighttime falls, Mary Jane is not one to mope at home, so why waste a night when her husband is out playing Spider-Man? Confident Peter will win as always. She dances the night away at the club. But MJ's fun is halted when a man makes advances on her, causing a wine glass to fall and shatter, mirroring the onset of a bad omen over Peter at that very moment. The man at the bar leaves, telling MJ, sorry lady, didn't mean to rain on your parade. As Mary Jane's night at the club comes to an end, her husband is still battling the lizard. Her husband fights and the lizard slashes, as MJ wipes the rain away in similar fashion. While waiting for a cab, she dreams of cuddling to Peter's warmth as the lizard has his prey mounted. Then, during the cab ride, she thinks Peter could use a break and hopes he gets rest as her husband is put to sleep. At her destination, she's splashed by the cab driving off, and she thinks some men can be a real bug as the spider finally stirs. Finally arriving home, MJ discovers that Peter has still not returned, so she leaves him a message and decides to go hit another party, as the night is still young. Still, she hopes Peter returns soon, as she feels that partying by herself can get lonely. At the next nightclub, MJ wishes Peter were there, but she thinks he's probably out hammering some supervillain, her cute little hero. But for now, she needs to keep herself occupied. The beat at the club mirrors Calypso's drums, far away during Peter's battle against a lizard, and when a ruptured gas line explodes, Peter's last thoughts turn to Mary Jane. However, in the flames, Peter survives and is fixated on returning to his wife, and at the same time MJ's thoughts are also fixated on her husband as she takes the next cab ride back home. After a near accident with a fire truck that races to the fire on Peter's battlefield, MJ hopes Peter is home this time, thinking how nice it would be to cuddle up with him after he's done playing Spider-Man, maybe even a little hot. As cop cars race by, MJ tries to relax thinking how she was nearly killed, and she questions how Peter does it daily, putting himself in jeopardy. On Peter's end, he thinks of his wife while swinging through the city, and those thoughts give him strength as he longs to be with her again, speaking to her that he's coming home. When Peter finally arrives, he looks down from the skylight to see Mary Jane as she waits inside. He then enters and falls to the floor exhausted but victorious, saying, "Honey, I'm home." In the coming days, Katzenberg finally leaks the photos of the Parkers together with Peter dressed up as Spider-Man. Peter loses trust with Robbie and is told his photos are not wanted and he is no longer welcome at the Bugle. Then, as Peter leaves, he is furious with Katzenberg, saying he may have cost him his whole career. At home, Peter tells MJ about Robbie's response, which he is still torn up over. Seeing that her husband is obsessing over it, MJ uses her charm to take Peter's mind off his worries by telling him to turn off the TV and kissing him, ready for some intimate fun with her husband. Unfortunately, breaking news ends the moment, and Peter must leave to be a hero. While Peter is out fighting villains, MJ babysits Normie for the Osborns so that they can go on a date night, which gives her a feeling of hunger to have a baby of her own. But as she follows Normie to a concealed closet, she is startled to find Harry's green goblin costume and gear, prepared and ready for use. After Normie picks up a pumpkin bomb, MJ quickly snatches him away. She wonders if Liz knows about the goblin gear and if she should warn her. Still, she feels she should tell Peter about it. Soon, the Parkers have a dinner party to attend with Jonah, and while in the elevator, Peter is not looking forward to what is sure to be an uncomfortable time. MJ tries to comfort Peter, saying maybe things will be different this time, but they arrive only to see that Jonah has also invited the Robertsons. While Martha is happy to talk to MJ about her soap opera role, Peter dreads talking to Robbie after what happened at the Bugle. However, Peter soon has a heated conversation trying to resolve his conflict with Robbie, but a phone call interrupts, and after overhearing a horrifying murder over the call, Peter must leave quickly to handle the situation as Spider-Man. Later at the Bugle, The Parkers arrive to meet Jonah for lunch, only to find Robbie there, throwing a fit that Jonah has accepted Peter's photos. As Robbie storms off, Peter tells his wife he needs to get this sorted out and he can't make lunch. In response, MJ says do what you have to do. She's a big girl. After Jonah tells MJ he no longer has an appetite, Betty walks up and says she'd be happy to join her for lunch. MJ is delighted by the offer and agrees, so they head out together. At lunch, MJ asks Betty personal questions about interfering in others' affairs, and Betty shares her past experiences, giving MJ guidance about her questions. With her mind made up, MJ decides it's time to confront Peter about Harry's goblin gear. Soon, at home, MJ has a conversation with Peter, opening up about what she saw the other night while babysitting Normie, and Peter replies that they must confront Liz about it. After the Parkers head over to the Osborns' place, Liz is furious when confronted about the topic, not wanting to hear accusations about her husband. In desperation, MJ tries to show Liz the goblin gear herself, but pulls back the curtain only to find that it's gone. But as Liz demands an apology, the ominous shadow of the goblin is cast against the wall outside. After a short time, Peter eventually confronts the goblin, but as Harry unmasks, he claims he missed the excitement of it and only wants to be a force for good. Peter replies that it's not a great choice for a family man, but Harry replies that's a strange thing to say coming from Spider-Man. After the goblin leaves, Peter wonders what Harry meant by the comment, and if Harry remembers that Peter Parker is actually Spider-Man. Later, Peter returns home to talk to MJ, fearing that Harry remembers his secret identity. He believes that if his secret is revealed, his costumed career may be in jeopardy. Concerned, MJ adds that she'd be in jeopardy as well, since Peter's enemies would see her as a prime target. Following up on a murder, Peter is about to depart for London to bring 2 assassins to justice. Mary Jane kisses her husband, beginning to cry as it's the first separation they've had since Peter's book tour, and she's been so busy with her career. She hasn't had the time she's longed for with Peter lately. MJ says she'll miss him and to hurry home soon. She doesn't know why she's crying so much, but Peter's departure feels almost like a breakup. Just then, Jerome, a former actor from Secret Hospital, greets MJ. MJ remembers Jason from her first day on set and how he was very kind and helpful when she was nervous. Jason invites MJ to dinner the next day to talk acting and careers, and MJ agrees to meet him. That night, MJ wakes screaming for Peter, having a horrible dream about him sinking into the London waters. The following evening, MJ thanks Jason for dinner on her way back home, as he recounts his days on Secret Hospital. Then, Jason calls a cabbie, and upon seeing it, MJ runs excitedly to it, as she hasn't been on one in a long time. After getting in, Jason shocks MJ, kissing her unexpectedly. Pulling away, MJ insists she go home immediately, and as Jason apologizes, she tells him that she is a married woman for God's sake. Then, as Jason looks away smiling, MJ looks downcast, in disbelief of what just happened. Later that night, as Peter is wrapping up in London, MJ prays that her husband hurry home, confused, not just because Jason kissed her, but because she liked it. After Peter returns to the city, MJ is out, looking on a building's wreckage as if it mirrors what feels to her like the wreckage of her own existence. She seeks support in one of her friends, Joy Mercado, and as they eat lunch, MJ opens up, saying she feels like there has been a dark cloud over her and Peter. When Joy advises that whatever problems they have is better than having no relationship at all, MJ questions if they truly do have a relationship, and then opens up further about Jason and how he has gotten into her head. As MJ is feeling crushed emotionally, Peter is being crushed physically at that moment by a giant teared lid that trapped him in the ground. As his thoughts turn to his wife, he is fueled with strength, and he shouts, "Do it for Mary Jane," as he lifts and breaks free of the massive tonnage that was crushing him. Back at home, MJ is dealing with her own struggles, as Jason is calling her again, in an attempt for MJ to have an affair with him. She hangs up on Jason, telling him to stop calling, just as Peter returns home. Peter asks who is on the phone, and as MJ runs to hug him, she claims it was a wrong number and kisses him passionately, only able to say she loves him. Meanwhile, Jason noted that MJ sounded upset hanging up on him and that he must be getting to her. Soon, Christy is finally discharged from the EDU, fully recovered after her battle with bulimia. MJ gets teary-eyed, feeling proud of her little cousin. As Christy's parents are on their next vacation, the Osborns want to hire Christy as a live-in babysitter in order to give them more time for romance. MJ fears that's what her and Peter have lacked lately, and that's why she had found Jason attractive. Later, as Jason is continuing to pursue MJ, she shows up at a singles bar at his request, determined to tell him face-to-face that nothing is going to happen between them. But Jason uses the opportunity to make advances on MJ, so she tries to escape, running out the door. However, Jason catches MJ on the street, grabbing her arm and forcing another kiss on her. She pleads for Jason to leave her alone as she turns to leave. However, MJ is shocked to see Christy babysitting Normie, standing there, watching her. She tries to explain, saying it isn't what it looks like, but runs away ashamed and embarrassed as Jason smiles, certain that MJ is starting to give in to him. While Peter is away in New Mexico with Puma, he sees Mary Jane in the mist and thinks back to the previous night. As he was packing his bags, MJ asked him not to take this trip, worried about something. When Peter asked her why she was so worried, she hugged him, kissing him with tears in her eyes and telling him to remember that no matter what happens, he is the only man she's ever truly loved. Soon, MJ has a plan on how to deal with Jason and asks him to meet her. When Jason arrives, he again attempts to talk MJ into having an affair with him, saying she's young and beautiful and her husband always leaves her alone and unloved. MJ says he talks to her like she's something he read out of a textbook and then tells Jason to meet her at her apartment later that evening. She'll be waiting. Meanwhile, Peter is done dealing with Puma and looks forward to returning home, thinking his wife is waiting and she must be lonely. At that moment, Jason arrives at Peter and Mary Jane's apartment. When he enters, he tells MJ he's been waiting a long time for this, but MJ replies she hopes he doesn't mind waiting a bit longer for the rest of his miserable existence. Turning on the lights, Mary Jane has plastered the entire apartment with pictures of her and Peter and tells Jason that the man in these pictures is her life, and she is his wife. MJ says she would never throw away the relationship with the only man she's ever loved for a meaningless romance with Jason. Then, MJ kicks Jason out of her apartment, saying he makes her sick. After slamming the door on Jason, MJ thinks he got the message this time, and so did she, and looks at the picture of Peter on the wall lovingly. She says Jason was right. She needs a little romance in her life, but only with Peter, her love, only and forever with him, and then tells him to hurry home. Sometime later, Peter swings home and looks in the mirror at his injuries from chemicals he was sprayed with by the hobgoblin. Meanwhile, Aunt May is over for a visit, and MJ has made the excuse that Peter has been showering. When May sees Peter's injury, she tells him to call a doctor, and he promises that he will, if he's not well by the following day. Then Peter is reminded that he's supposed to attend the opera that evening with MJ, who tells Peter she has his tux ready on the bed for him. After the opera, MJ notices that her husband is in a distant mood. Peter tells her his concerns about his injuries, and MJ suggests that he get a few tests run to check it out. He then consults with Dr. Turner to run tests, but the machine starts to inadvertently strip Peter of his powers, so Peter aborts the procedure. Later, after Peter nearly gets killed in a battle, he contemplates the opportunity to remove his powers, talking with MJ over the dilemma, but ultimately, it's his decision to make. After much thought, Peter returns to Dr. Turner and asks to have his powers removed, as he has decided that he wants to stop being Spider-Man forever. With his powers now removed, Peter goes for a walk with his wife and has a long talk about the new status quo and how it's going to take getting used to. When they arrive home, Flash and Felicia are there to invite the Parkers to a picnic outing. As MJ starts to decline by making up an excuse, Peter cuts in and agrees that they will go, while inviting their guests inside. In private, MJ asks why Peter is not avoiding Felicia anymore, and Peter explains that since Felicia has always been more in love with Spider-Man than Peter, maybe she'll stop her schemes when she learns he's no longer what she's after. Soon, while the gang hangs out at the park, MJ notices that Felicia seems a bit less catty than usual. Then, while getting ice cream, Flash surprises Felicia with a gift, telling her she is special. Suddenly, news breaks out of a hostage situation that Peter can't ignore. While MJ attempts to make an excuse for Peter's sudden departure, Flash decides to go to the scene in case Spider-Man is there. When the group arrives at the scene, Felicia questions where Spider-Man is, as Peter dresses in costume in the rooftops above. Then, MJ is surprised when Flash runs to investigate, followed closely by Felicia. After all three of them engage in a fight against the bad guys, Flash is injured, and Felicia suspiciously confronts Peter about Spider-Man, saying she noticed he wasn't quite his usual self during the fight. A short time later, Peter's loss of powers is starting to become a problem for him, as he failed to stop a robbery earlier that day while out with MJ. MJ reminds Peter why he made the decision to remove his powers, but Peter goes to the roof to get some air. While he's out, Felicia confronts Peter about why he is different, and how she knows he's changed. Then she reveals her feelings for Flash, and that she is not so sure it's worth hurting Flash to get back at Peter anymore. As they talk, MJ sees them out on the roof together. She trusts Peter with Felicia, but seeing that there are parts of his life that Peter can't share with her, she feels hurt as she goes back downstairs. Soon, Felicia starts to assist Peter in getting around the city due to him losing his powers, and one evening, as Felicia visits the Parkers' home, Peter discusses tracking down Dr. Turner, whom he lost his powers to, until there is a sudden knock on the door. MJ recalls they had invited Flash and the Osborns over for dinner, and tells Felicia to quickly find a change of clothes to wear. As their guests come in, Felicia returns in one of MJ's stunning dresses, and Peter notices that MJ is feeling a bit jealous with Felicia showing her up at her own party. However, MJ tells Peter she can handle it, saying she's quite a catch herself. The Parkers notice that Felicia has developed genuine feelings for Flash, and that must be the reason that she is now willing to help Peter out. Soon, Felicia leaves with Peter to track Scorpion back to Dr. Turner, as MJ watches, thankful for Felicia's assistance. There, Peter discovers the machine has only suppressed his powers, and he is able to reverse the process and get his powers back, fully. The next day, Peter and MJ grill lunch in the yard while visiting Aunt May. Peter confronts May about helping those in need, which gets his mind made up that with his powers back, continuing as Spider-Man is the right thing to do. Then, a visit from May's friend at the front door reminds Peter and MJ of how they first met each other. MJ turns to Peter telling him that Aunt May isn't the only one who hit the jackpot, Tiger.